Hello, I'm Babs and I'm here to talk to you today about the California Consumer Privacy Act 2018. A bit of a mouthful. We've literally just got to grips with GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation in the EU, and that has meant that companies all over, including companies in the US and Canada, anything outside the EU, if there is a potential for them to hold personal data of an EU citizen, which there always is, these companies in these countries are having to comply with GDPR as well. So now the California Consumer Privacy Act is California's answer to GDPR. Some people are calling it baby GDPR. It's not quite as onerous as GDPR. If you already comply with it, you're very likely to already comply with the California rules because they're not quite as scary. But what's really interesting is that a study from a few years ago said that 90% of Californian residents thought that there should be tighter controls with how companies can use their data. Okay, 90%. And the general concern was that it was tech companies, things like social media pages or other online service providers. People were generally concerned about what they were doing with their personal information. And I don't know about you, but I'm a little concerned about that as well. That's what GDPR has been trying to rule out, and now this is what the California Consumer Privacy Act is trying to rule out. Now there's some differences between the two, but the general principles are the same. Some key differences are, under GDPR, you have to actively provide consent for somebody to hold your data, okay? That's not the case in these California rules. However, you can opt out. So I could still go to a Californian company and say, I don't want you to hold my personal data, and they would have to delete it. The only time a Californian company needs to have someone actively opt in to be allowed to hold their data is if they're under 16. Another difference is under GDPR, there are no financial incentives for customers or anything like that, but under this new Californian law, companies can provide customers with a financial incentive in order to let them hold their data. Not sure how we feel about that. Pretty good if you don't mind having your personal data held and shared by these companies and you get a little bit of a kickback out of it. Something else to bear in mind is that under the Californian law, Californian citizens have to be able to opt out of selling their personal data to third parties, okay? Seems fair enough to me. Something else that's quite similar between the two is that under the Californian Act, companies cannot discriminate against customers who haven't provided consent to use their personal data or who have opted out of you holding their personal data. And that's very similar to some of the principles under GDPR. The big difference is the fines, okay? So under GDPR, you've probably heard this many times, but you can be, if you breach any of the rules under GDPR, you can be sued up to 4% of your annual turnover or 20 million euros, whichever is greater. And that doesn't matter if you're based in the EU or external in any other country, you can still be sued to that amount. Really scary numbers, and that's why people get a little bit scared. Under this Californian Act, the fine is $750 per incident or the damages, whichever is greater. So that still could be pretty high, but you're not talking 4% of worldwide turnover or 20 million euros, right? So it's a little bit different. But the basis is the same regarding both pieces of legislation. Consumers are now getting much more confident in asserting their rights when it comes to privacy. They have a lot more rights now. As an individual, you can ask companies not to hold this data on you. You can ask them what data they hold on you. You can ask them to delete it. You can ask them not to give it to third parties, okay? And that will be becoming our fundamental rights in so many different places. It'll be really interesting to see if the California Privacy Act goes throughout the whole of the US. Big companies like Microsoft are already implementing these rules throughout their whole business, so all across the US, because for them, it doesn't really make logistical sense to only apply it to California citizens. So very interesting to see what comes after that. If you hold personal data of California residents, or if there's a chance you might, or if this whole privacy GDPR thing just scares you, drop a comment below this video and I'll get back to you. We can have a chat. Make sure to hit subscribe to this channel. I'll be giving you loads and loads of awesome updates as to topics which might be benefiting you and your business going forward. Make sure to hit a big thumbs up I'm Babs from Protect Your Empire, and I hope you have a really, really good day.